Welcome to the RHE Global Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Nixon. I'm the Director of Community Safety here at RHE Global and the product owner of the Noise app. Today is a really special interview for me. I'm joined by someone who's been at the heart of RHE from the start, Rob Halford, Managing Director and founder of the company. As you probably know, RHE provides software, consulting and training services focused on environmental health, housing and community safety to local authorities and the public sector organisations. We'll be talking about where it all started today, the challenges of setting up a company and making it a success that RHE has become, and what's next for RHE Global. So Rob, thank you so much for spending your time with me this morning.
Thank you, Jim. That sounded quite an intro. That was a lot's happened.
It really has. And that's a really pertinent part to start with, really, because I want to start right at the beginning. I think when you start a company, you're always trying to solve a problem within the particular sector that you're working on. So taking you back a few years now, what sort of problem were you trying to solve back then when you first sort of started out with the company?
Sure. Yeah, I began the company, I guess, way back in 1998 when I worked as a sole trader, working as a consultant. Because prior to that, I've been an environmental health officer in local government, and I've done nearly 20 years, ending up as senior manager. So I'd had a lot of experience seeing lots of issues in local government and just seeing the challenges that environmental health officers face day to day. And although I left local government, my heart was very much still in environmental health, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't difficult, really, to find a way to try and support environmental health officers, because that's what we're about. So it all began with realising that there's new technology on the way. There was a lot of talk about the digital revolution many years ago, and then cloud computing came along. So I began to get these ideas about, we've got all this new technology arriving, and actually there's not many people investing in environmental health, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I know what we're going to do. We're going to find how can cloud solutions actually support environmental health officers, and we achieved that with our first product, which is RHEAMS. And what that was all about was really helping environmental health officers become more consistent in what they did across the country, and to iron out the inconsistencies that the private sector complain a lot about in terms of they might get different enforcement decisions in different parts of the country. We were able to utilise new technology, which at the time was cloud computing, and that was the birth of the RHEAMS platform as we all know it now. It had a different name in the beginning, and so that solved the problem of environmental health officers coming to different decisions in different parts of the country.
Yeah, brilliant way of doing that, and we all know the success that it has become. Building something from scratch, though, is never really easy. So what were sort of your biggest challenges in those early days? Because you've got no sort of major IT background at all, like myself. So what were those kind of challenges that you faced early doors with RHEAMS?
I got the vision. I remember sitting at my desk and I was helping, getting into specifics. I was dealing with a large unitary authority as a consultant. And they were coming to me saying, look, Rob, we've got an issue here. We keep getting ombudsman's complaints go against us because officers aren't following procedures quite right, or we've messed up on a procedure somewhere. And it was then that the idea of RHEAMS began to drop into my head, in that I thought, wow, could I actually turned that job down because I didn't want to produce paper-based procedures for that authority, because as we all know, generally speaking, if you put paper procedures in a file, put it on a shelf, all that's going to happen is it's going to gather dust.
Yes.
So I managed to persuade the local authority that rather than me producing paper-based documents, could I produce something on a web platform for them? At the time was quite revolutionary.
That's so innovative back then.
It was very. This is before the days of Dropbox. Facebook I think Facebook wasn't really well known at the time. It's very early days. So I had the idea, but then of course, as you say, I haven't got a tech background. I'm thinking, how am I going to deliver this? And that was the biggest problem, was communicating the vision to other people and finding people with the right ability. And it really was a stroke of luck that I had a good friend who knew how to build websites. And he got me so far, but he very quickly ran out of road.
Right.
And I couldn't deliver. So just as it looked like the project was going to collapse, a young man contacted me, David Wadge, who's now our Chief Technology Officer, who was a first-class honours student from Aberystwyth University in computer sciences, and he was looking for a job. And I couldn't believe it. It was like literally the morning it was all going to fall apart. This letter landed on my desk, and so I rang David, and we just hit it off straight away.
Yeah.
And more importantly, he had the technical know-how to make the vision reality. And he did a superb job.
What a stroke of luck!
Really the challenge.
What a stroke of luck!
It was, and it's how do you, it's serendipity, you could call it. You know, I had a need, and something answered the need, and I think to overcoming the challenge really was about having the belief in what I was doing and the drive and the will to make it happen.
Yeah, I think that's so key. I think when you look at a lot of businesses when they start out, it's that belief, because I think you do suffer a lot of knockbacks, and I think people will quite happily sort of say, oh, that's not a very good idea, that's not going to work, or whatever it might be. But I think it is about having that desire and just keep looking at how you can make that a reality, and you clearly did that with David's help.
Yeah, I mean, I think what really helped was I do have a great belief in environmental health, because I think the principles of environmental health are just fantastic, which is really to make other people's life better by improving the environment around them, whether
Totally
that's
agree with
food
that.
they eat, house they live in, or the air they breathe. And I'm a great believer in that. And I think because I stuck to that and was really focused on environmental health and helping environmental health professionals, and I wasn't so focused on the commercials. I had to be commercially focused, but that wasn't my driving motivation. My motivation was that I always wanted to be an environmental health officer. I just loved that opportunity to come in at a different angle, to rather than being a local authority employee, do it from the outside.
Yeah, I like that, because I think that's so key. That one of the things that I love about this company is that the helping people is very much at the heart of what we do. Yes, let's be honest, we've got to make a living, but yes. I think that's so key, and I think that's one of the things that really attracted me to working with yourselves and the great team that we've got around us now, is that real desire, and that's obviously in my DNA too. So I couldn't agree with you more there, Rob, and I love that that's still our core sort of driver to this day.
Yeah, I think it resonates with the company, because we can talk about various products and how they've helped people, and when our teams that aren't environmental health background or police background, community safety background, so they don't really know what it's like out there. But when they hear stories about how people's lives have been improved by some of our technology being used by other professionals, it's fantastic, because it then makes sense to them why they're doing what they're doing. It's not just for money, we're actually doing something for good as well.
Yeah, sure. Once David did come on board, how sort of long did RHEAMS take to kind of really get into where you could sell it within the market and really help as many practitioners as possible? Did it take quite a long time?
Going back, I think it was actually 2007, I think, when David first joined us. It took about a year, 18 months before the platform was fully up and running. And it was a slog, because the challenge at the time, obviously I had to pay his wages, and I had about 6 other staff. So while all this was going on, I was working full-time as a consultant all over the UK, dealing mainly with sustainability for businesses large and small, mainly in the food sector. And yeah, it was really tough. I was doing a full day's work and then other stuff on top. Family didn't see much of me for a couple of years, but it paid off, because I didn't borrow any money. Everything I earned, I ploughed it back into the company, and we still do that to some extent. We're very much about investing, because I really did have a feel that if I could get this right, it was really going to work. So yeah, I guess we were in the market by about 2010 with RHEAMS, and then it was it was a slog, because you got to go knocking on doors. You've got to go and talk to people, introduce them to a different way of receiving information, because even by 2010 it was still relatively novel to start getting all your procedures via a cloud platform. But gradually, one by one, we had fantastic support in Wales, I will say. We knew we had a breakthrough when about 7 authorities all signed up in about a month. I thought, wow, that's it.
That's when you start to see there's something definitely right here.
Yeah, that's right. So when the market starts to nod and people say, yeah, okay, Rob, we'll go with it, you're onto something. And then, I spent a number of years out on the road visiting local authorities up and down the UK. Got to know an awful lot of chief environmental health officers, heads of environmental health services. Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed meeting, and I loved actually being in the company of other professionals, seeing them, obviously grappling the day-to-day challenges, and it just felt good to be able to contribute a bit towards helping them get things done a bit more efficiently.
Yeah, it's ironic, isn't it, now how you probably would do the some of that face-to-face so differently now with the technology, and after obviously the post-COVID, we do it so differently, but actually it's good, I think, to get out there and meet people and really get a feel for them to get the feel for the product and a feel for you and the company. So I think that really paid off.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm hoping that the online meeting stuff actually winds down a bit and people get to see each other more face to face. Because
I
you
certainly
get so much more from a face to face.
You know me, Rob. I certainly enjoy that. I still certainly enjoy getting out and seeing people and meeting people. I think it's just so important. But I think it does help sometimes with efficiencies and sort of time saving for us as a company and other companies. One product sort of really close to my heart, and probably the reason why I'm here today sat in front of you, is the Noise app. Just such a brilliant product. And for those who maybe have tuned in that don't know how that works, basically Rob came up with an idea for an app many years ago, which effectively is used again in local authorities and housing associations for app users, customers to be able to download an app onto their smart device, and then they're able to record noise, short bursts of noise that they can then send back to their organisation, and they can then review that via a portal that we've built, and then they can sort of assess the next steps for that particular case. How did it all come about, Rob?
Yeah, an interesting story actually. Thank you for asking. We one of the things that we've had to do as a company, and in terms of building the company, has been to be very much aware of what technology is evolving, what's next, what's coming up. And by about 2013, RHE was established. It was a successful cloud platform. It was one of the first cloud platforms that a local government actually got, if not the first, but definitely the first in environmental health. And so around 2012, 2013, smartphone apps were really beginning to take off.
Yeah.
And we realised that, wow, this is an amazing piece of technology. How could we use it in environmental health? So we actually, the idea didn't originate from our company. There are 3 environmental health officers down in Surrey who had this idea for, why don't we use a smartphone app to capture noise to report noise complaints? Because the process was, and in some authorities still is, incredibly cumbersome.
Even to this day.
So, it's ridiculous. Where if you're experiencing noise, it's incredibly stressful. It can really disrupt your life. It can destroy relationships. It can make home life really miserable if you've got
100%.
a very unreasonable neighbour. I do not get why some local authorities do insist on people filling in a diary sheet and then having to send email or post it back in, and the officer investigating can look at it, and then they might think, okay, we'll investigate this one, and then they might visit, and then they might arrange to install equipment. Well, weeks have gone by in that process, and the people are suffering. And there's no reason for that delay.
No.
There isn't a justifiable reason for that delay. And we realised that smartphone technology would just cut out most of that wasted time, and it would be possible to download an app, capture the noise while it's happening, and within a minute the local authorities got that evidence, then it can then decide whether or not to investigate. So we could see the reason that this was a really good marriage. We've got a serious problem here with the inefficiency of investigating noise complaints, and you've got a piece of technology that would solve that. So we thought, great. So I don't want to take the credit for the original idea, because it was 3 EHOs down. It was Paul, Michael and Chris working for, I think it was Richmond and Elmbridge councils.
Oh, okay.
But I happened to know them, and I contacted them. I said, this is a really good idea. They said, thank God you rang us, Rob, because we're stuck.
They were struggling.
They tried to build an app. It didn't work, basically, and they were stuffed. So I said, okay. So we actually gave Chris and Michael, who had spent the money on the first app, we did a really good deal for them. We gave them some money and gave them a cut of the profits in the early days of the app. So we took it on, then discovered how difficult it is to build a really good app, and we burnt tens of thousands of pounds on trying to improve the app that they had, and in the end we had to abandon it. So by then we'd lost 6 months to 12 months messing around. They were into the mid-2014, and we bit the bullet. We thought, we've got to build the whole, because we still thought it was viable, despite the fact by then we'd lost a lot of money. So we spent 18 months building the app as we know it, and it came out as a seriously good product. Again, that was thanks to David, and he literally disappeared for 18 months to build that thing. So it was an interesting beginning.
What was it like when you first started sort of pushing that out to the relevant organisations? Was there an initial reluctance to take it on? I was just interested to see what sort of response you got initially.
That's a good question. I'm trying to remember, actually. It didn't take off like wildfire straight away. It was such a new idea, but thankfully there were some brave souls out there who kind of knew us already, trusted us, because we are a very trustworthy organisation. We've been around a long time now, And they trusted us, and they trusted the quality of the software. And so our early adopters, we loved them. They were so good to us because obviously there were some things to iron out with such a new piece of technology. But very, very quickly, we could see that they were getting success with the app. So yeah, it was slow to begin, as these things usually are. But what was so interesting about it was, I remember now, was that we thought, oh yeah, they're going to use the app to, receive a complaint, decide whether to investigate. What surprised us was how far people were starting to take the app, because very quickly they started using it in enforcement actions, and within 6 months we heard of court cases coming through that relied solely on the app for evidence. We thought, wow, we didn't think that was going to happen, and it did.
Yeah.
And it gave people the freedom to implement it how they wanted, because you can use the app in many different ways according to your local setup. We loved that because the app was not only just helping people, but it gave them the freedom to adapt it to how they want to do things locally.
Yeah, so, definitely. I remember the first time I came across it, I was working in housing in 2017, and I remember it started to hit the sort of like the market then, in terms of people were talking a lot about it. I was just blown away by it, genuinely blown away by it. And we used it in court really early doors for an injunction case under the ASB legislation. And I remember one of my officers coming back from the court hearing and saying the judge was so complimentary of the noise app. He couldn't believe it. He'd never heard of it before, but he was so pleased because normally he had to rely on paper diary sheets and that kind of evidence, and actually we were able to give them something tangible in terms of the recordings. And I was just so blown away by that, and then it just grew and grew and grew, and it just transformed how we investigated noise. So yeah, it was an exciting time for me too, really, to be able to see just what you could do with it and how, like you say, you can use it in so many different ways. It just blew me away. Yeah,
I think the other big thing in the early days was we were amazed how popular it was with the public. Because I remember there were quite a few newspaper articles. I think we were on the BBC once or twice because it was quite novel. And there was an overwhelmingly positive response from the public using it, because what it did, it made them feel vindicated because they could capture the data while it was happening. And because the smartphone was also contributing other data to verify the complaint, like where was the recording actually taken from, and date and timestamp and things like that, it meant that the complainant, the noise sufferer, actually felt like they'd been taken seriously.
Yeah.
And curiously, even if it was a complaint that was considered not really justified, we found that members of the public tend to accept it more if they've reported through the app, because they feel, well, at least they've heard the noise and at least they've read everything. They've got all the data, and they're more likely to trust the decision of the officer. So it kind of worked both ways.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think you're absolutely right. I think there's just something about just manual diary sheets. It just doesn't seem to carry the same kind of weight that the noise app recordings do. Like you say, I've had many customers where you go through that process with the noise app, and then they're okay. They're okay if they don't get the decision that they want, but you can then justify that by the recordings that have been made, and it just allows you to sort of bring a little bit of closure. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right in that respect.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it reminds me of we knew when we'd hit the sweet spot with the app in terms of it really was delivering what people needed. I always remember, when I got a phone call from a housing manager of social housing in the southwest of England, and he rang me up personally to thank me, and he explained that day we'd been receiving noise complaints of domestic noise, of shouting on a housing estate of theirs, block of flats. And when they listened to the recording, literally as they were coming in, they realised what they were listening to was a child being abused in a neighbouring property. And that sent a cold shiver down their spines, I can say. But what they did straight away was rang social services. And because the noise app allowed them to do it, they could share the recordings straight away.
Yeah.
Social services were in touch with the police. And then within 15 minutes, that child was taken out of the flat. And he said it probably saved that child's life.
100%.
And we've had many more stories like that since. And
loads. There's lots and lots.
Thought, wow, this is quite a powerful tool, actually.
I had a very similar experience, and it was so powerful because the social worker that I was dealing with, this case had been going on, and they were sat on the fence a little bit. So I called her in, played the recordings. Yeah, obviously we could share the information, like you rightly say, because of the risk. And I could just saw the colour drain out of her face. And within a very short period of time, those children were protected, and effectively they were given a much better life because of the actions that resulted from those recordings. So that again was a bit of a light bulb moment for me when I started using the app and thinking, wow, this is just amazing. And I think now we've introduced the safeguarding element to the app as well now, which kind of picks up on the messages. So when the app user, if they do sort of put anything within the online diary within the Noise app now, or on the messaging backwards and forwards to the officer, what I love now is that we've put that safeguarding tool in that will flag up any kind of harmful content within the app as well. And I think that is a game changer for me, and I really wanted that into the app. And I know David was very supportive of doing that too. And I think, again, we just continue to help so many people in that respect.
Yeah. I mean, the figures are amazing like that. I don't know what they are these days, but we're well over 1 million recording processed every year.
Oh, easy.
Tens of thousands of cases we're handling every year. Yeah, it's quite something.
And I think, one of the great things for me since I've come in, as you know, is just taking the app into Europe. And, we're currently working in the Netherlands and growing that market. And they just have really embraced it and absolutely love it, and I think it's just going to grow and grow and grow, not just in the UK, but across Europe and other parts over the next few years. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it definitely has far wider potential than what we've realised here in the UK.
Oh, massive. It really has.
And, don't forget Australia, because they've been using it for a while now. Yeah. And I still remember when they introduced Noise app down there. It was released fairly quietly, I think, by our partners down there. But it got picked up by the television networks. And I don't know if you remember, Jim, the Noise app was all over breakfast TV for a few days in Australia and all the networks. It's great fun.
Oh, amazing. It's so good to see that, when it all comes to fruition. Yeah. I want to ask you sort of over the years, obviously the company has grown, and now obviously we've introduced the housing app, which obviously assists housing professionals with housing inspections. We've obviously got the ongoing REAMS developments. The Noise app has had a massive revamp over the last few years, certainly since I've been with the company. What's the common thread, do you think, that ties all these platforms together and the services together? What do you think is the common thread?
I think you've said it. It's about helping professionals. I definitely have, and I know the company as a whole, we have a huge respect for those professionals that are out there every day, doing sometimes not a very easy job.
No.
Working in tough conditions, trying to improve people's life, because that's what they're trying to do, and we want to help them. And I think by staying focused on that and what we're about has helped us avoid wander off and get lost and stay quite sharp and focused. And we have made mistakes. We have launched products that just weren't going to work. But sometimes you've got to do that to learn the lessons. And we've certainly learned those lessons, and we're a lot more careful now about the development work we commit to. And that's it. It's very, very simple. I mean, because I really love the motto for environmental health as an example with the professionals. Their institution, the Chartered Institute of Environmental Health, is friend to the human. And I think, wow, that's a good motto.
Yeah, I like that.
Very good motto. And, if you think you can go to work every day helping people to be friend to the human and do some good and improve people's lives in some way, what better reason do you need to get out of bed?
No, I agree. I think I've always said, work on the success rate of 1. If you can change one life, then you're doing your job. And I think we do that with many, many, many people through our professionals that we work with. So it's a win-win for me.
Because some of the junior staff have asked me about that, and I tell you, well, why are we socially ethical? And I said, well, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because for a lot of businesses, what they have to point at is, the way we conduct ourselves is socially ethical, which is great, and we do too. But we have that added bonus that the products we produce actually contribute positively to society, and I think, well, that's socially ethical.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right, and I think that's at the heart of the DNA of the company, and I think it will always be that way. In the culture that we have within the company, I think it's just a fantastic culture, as I've said to you before.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about sort of what's next really for the company, and how you as the MD sort of looks where to innovate really. Sort of what sort of do you think has guided those sort of decisions on sort of what products and services that you look at?
I would say one of the things would be very similar. You come from the police background, Jim, I come from environmental health, and at the end of the day, you're out there on the street. You've got to be quite pragmatic, haven't you? And there's that pragmatism. So we are quite pragmatic in our decision making and looking down the road. So I think what was really contributed is having a really good strategic mindset and that ability to look ahead. And I'm forever grateful for Martin Pilkington, who joined me back in 2010. And he's an exceptional human being, an extraordinary man, and he's very, very, very good at strategizing and helping us to look ahead. Because being environmental health or police, we tend to be very good at responding to problems and reacting to things. That's how we've been trained. But running a company, you need to be able to look down the road because you've got a plan. If you think about it, we've got tens and tens of people who we're responsible for paying their wages. They're planning their lives around the money they're going to earn here. So you've got to get things right. And you've got to have that stability. And part of that is being able to look down the road, being able to see what's coming. To Martin's been instrumental really in helping us in that strength area of the company. And the pragmatism comes from, you look at technology coming through and think, well, okay, AI's come along, so we have to embrace it. Because the truth of the matter is that Silicon Valley is deciding what technology everybody's going to use, aren't they? They're so powerful.
Well, they are.
So the pragmatism is, well, okay, we've got to ride this wave, because if we don't, our products will lose their value, they'll lose their relevance, and it would be all wasted effort. So we have to keep evolving, we have to keep moving. So the mindset, I guess, is, you can't sit still, you have to keep changing. You have to keep adapting. You've got to have a good weather eye out there to see what technology is coming along. And this is the key bit. You've got to have the professional background to figure out whether the use cases apply, say with AI, to the job of an environmental health officer or someone working in social housing dealing with community safety, as an example. So it's a whole blend of skill sets. And the key to that is no one person can do that.
That's perfect.
You need a group of people to do it. And that's also being a key to the company, is finding the right people and nurturing those people and giving them an environment where they can succeed. And then through that, you get tremendous results.
I've always said that when you work in certain businesses, you do get sort of overwhelmed by egos. And I think one of the things I love, I've always sort of said, when you deal with people, you need to leave your ego at the door. And I think one of the things that there's, great people work for our company, and I'm not just saying that, but I think we all leave our egos at the door when we all work with each other. I think there's titles within the company, but for me, we all just muck in, and we've all got different skill sets. And I think, like you've just said, that comes together really nicely, where we can respect each other's ideas, but then finalise it and go with the majority and get the right results. And I think that's a really important blend of our people and how we continue to evolve.
Yeah, it's just had to be a very conscious thing, actually, in terms of building the company, because, as you know, it's a very flat structure. I'm the managing director, but anybody can contact me. And if it's a problem, we don't go around trying to find someone to blame. We go, there's a problem, we just drop everything and sort this problem out. And the answer could come from me, or it could come from somebody on the support desk. It could come from somebody in marketing or someone in admin. You've got to have your ears open, and because everybody's got a different view, and sometimes somebody else's view is more important than yours.
Yeah.
Very simple. And so it's very conscious. And I guess it reflects my personal journey, because, what hadn't come up is that, I started to go blind, and I'm now registered blind, so I can't actually see much at all. And it's really taught me the importance of humility, listening to other people, and appreciating the strength of when people work together. They're so much stronger. Yeah,
that's exactly the way to go. And I was just thinking about it, actually, when you were just talking about the company and how sort of you've evolved with technology. You only have to look at sort of like big companies that have made that fatal mistake, and one that springs to mind is Blockbuster, where when Netflix came along, Blockbuster were reluctant to change their business model, and look what happened there. They went from billions and millions of pounds to literally bust. So I think it shows that even the big corporations make that fatal mistake.
Yeah, and I guess that's the problem that big corporations have got. It's more difficult for them to change, because obviously the larger the organisation, the more complex it is to make the change. And then that's the joy of staying small. So we have 36 employees, I think it is, and that's a nice size. It's not too big. Everybody knows everyone, and we're adaptable and we can move quickly.
Yeah. Your role, obviously, within the company over the years, from the humble beginnings of the company to now, has changed quite a bit. One of the things that I'm obviously really interested in is leadership, and I just wondered what you've learned about leadership along the way through your journey over the years.
Number one, don't let it go to your head. You have to keep your feet on the ground. My wife, my family have been brilliant. If I get too grandiose, they soon pull me down. Yeah, I think humility is actually a very important and underrated quality. Not trying to diminish oneself, but it not blowing oneself up to be bigger than you actually are. Because it's very important. If humility is done in the right way, it creates opportunities for other people. Yeah. And I think it's the truth that everybody does enjoy working here, because we give people a lot of scope to explore and to find their solution to a problem rather than dictating how something should be dealt with. And this obviously it's sort of, if you pardon the expression, bleeding obvious. Very often we're dealing with complex issues or challenges we've not faced before.
Sure.
It's having that humility. Give other people the space to speak. It gives other people a chance to bring their strengths. And what we've seen in the company over the years is that people have grown. And a testament to that is that we have a very slow staff turnover, because many people who have joined us are still here because it's such a great place to work.
Yeah, I mean, you have to look at like John Williams' journey, the director of sales, look at John's journey through the company. Started really as sort of young lad, and he's kind of grown with the company over the last God knows how many years. But, he's been with us a good number of years, and now sort of a board member and such a massive contributor to the company in the way that he sort of helps and supports all of us. So that's a great example.
Yeah, it's proof of the pudding's in the eating, isn't it? And I think we've done that. We've been able to facilitate other people's careers so that they can feel they're progressing. They can turn around to their families and say, well, look at this, I've been promoted. The company's doing really well. And as the company does well, there's more opportunities for more people. So Martin and I have been very, very conscious about that, to create an environment where people can see their future is going to get better. So we haven't just taken it all for ourselves, which can be tempting. So Jonathan Williams has done a fantastic job. He's joined us as a junior and he's now a board member. And Karen Monaghan also done a superb job as our finance director. She's amazing. She's the rock that the company's built on.
Karen runs the show.
She totally does. And so she's earned her place on the board as well. Very trusted member of the board.
Absolutely. Just finally, Rob, looking ahead, what's next for us? What's next for RHE Global? What are your hopes or ambitions for the next sort of few years? What do you think?
Oh, that's a good question. I think keep doing more of the same in terms of progressing, increasing our market share, and learning how to become a truly international company. You mentioned Europe. So yes, we've been successful. We're in the Netherlands, and obviously looking to see how we can expand through Northern Europe, but also to strengthen our ties in Australia. We've got a fantastic reseller, Kerno Environmental Health in Australia, do a really good job selling REAMs and the Noise app to local authorities. It always gives me a bit of a buzz. He took it to some of the major cities in Australia.
Yeah, 100%.
They all use the Noise app.
Yeah,
it's quite amazing. Really.
It is brilliant.
And we've got lead to follow, haven't we? New Zealand, Canada,
There's lots going on.
So to see that expansion, and I think at the same time, see that the company doesn't lose its identity, and that lovely working culture that we've cultivated doesn't get lost.
Yeah. One word you used earlier, and I think it sums up this company for me in a big way, is trust. I've been a customer of the company before, and one of the things that I used to love was the service that you got from the team. But I think there's that real trust, and I see that with our customers on a day-to-day basis. As you know, I deal with a lot of our customers, particularly around the Noise app. Yeah. And I just feel that they do have that trust in us, that if things do go wrong from time to time, which they do with all companies, we always find a solution, but they are so forgiving, because I think there's that trust and that relationship that we've built up. And I think that's so key to the success of any good company out there. And I think we've got those active ingredients, and we've got that trust with our customers, and I think that's so key.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, we always say, don't we? Problems are going to happen, and what matters is how you deal with it. So we don't waste our energy trying to chase down people. Oh, why did you do this? Why did you do that? We just say, right, we've got a problem to solve. We need to sort this out. And that's why our customers feel, is that we own the problem. If we've made a mistake, fine, we've made a mistake, but let's put it right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we do that, and I think that's where our customers just have so much faith in us in terms of what we do.
Yeah, it's a long-term view. Because, when I set the company up, it was always had with a long-term vision. I wasn't in it, we're not in it to make a fast buck. We're here to create a sustainable entity that is part of the whole kind of ecology, if you like, of environmental health. Because environmental health and community safety, yes, you need the public sector delivering these services, but they need us and other people like us to complement them and bring innovation to them. Because if you look at it, there's not that many companies that are prepared to actually invest in this area and bring new technology into this area, but we're one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the future's really bright in terms of what we can continue. Like you said, we'll just continue to be ahead of the curve and just keep an open mind and just keep pushing forward. Brilliant, Rob. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and your sort of vision for the company and how it's evolved. I think it's really important that listeners know how it's all come about, really, and why we are where we are. So just want to thank you for sharing that with me and with the audience.
Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure, Jim. Thank you. And time went very quickly. Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks everyone for listening to the RHE Global Podcast today. I hope you found this interview with Rob really, really enjoyable. I certainly have. And we'll be obviously producing more episodes in the coming weeks. Don't forget to take a look at our website as well, www.rheglobal.com. Thanks everyone, and catch you soon.